It's fine. I need you youngins to go outside, and I need you to look into my neighbor's yard at the tree. And I want you to look really closely at the tree and take note of what you see. Can you do that? Go.
What tree is that?
I would like you to tell me all of the examples of parents in the scriptures whose children also were faithful and obedient. It's a challenge.
Okay. Abraham.
Oh, I heard Abraham and Sarah. Did their son Isaac follow God?
Yep.
Oh, so there's an example.
Adam and Eve.
Mm,
Abel.
mm,
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Abel, maybe Seth. That's a good one. Definitely not Cain, though.
No, not Cain. No, not Cain.
All right. Any more? As a child, yeah. But as an older adult, it's the end of a man's life that matters. So that one I would put in the column.
Jacob had one of the most obedient sons in the Bible.
Ooh, good one.
Yeah.
Who was it?
It was Joseph.
Joseph.
And Joseph had how many brothers? And he was almost at the bottom. Yet he didn't follow their example.
Right. Okay. How about Elkanah? Who? Ever hear of Hannah? Elkanah was Hannah's husband.
Samuel.
How about New Testament? How about a man named Zachariah and a woman named Elizabeth? How about
Mary and Joseph?
How about Mary and Joseph? How about a grandmother and a mother?
Timothy's mom.
Lois and Eunice. That's about all I could come up with. Ruth and Naomi. Ruth and Naomi. That's a really good one.
Who was Esther's parents?
Because Ruth wasn't even.
No, she was.
That's a good one too.
She was-
Well, but Mordecai,
yeah.
her uncle cousin,
Yeah.
who raised her. So that's a good example. Really good example. And a single parent. Ruth wasn't even blood to Naomi, but married in. And even when her husband said, no, you're still my mother and your people, that's a really good one. So probably we could say maybe from Ruth and Boaz to their children. Okay, so there's some in there, right? Unfortunately, I see a lot of examples of what we would say are godly parents who know the word. I mean, think of Eli, Aaron. Of course, one of his sons was. Two of his sons were not.
Not so much.
Two of them were. Even Moses, we find Gershom later on in the family line that Gershom did follow along.
But you don't hear. Can't.
But we don't hear Gershom falling away. We do see Gershom in the lineage. So if you look in Chronicles, First Chronicles, Gershom's in there. If you look in the genealogy, Gershom's there. Okay? But genealogy, good and bad, could be there. Right? Okay. Unfortunately, I saw, and when my children were young, I was always like, Abba, all these great men. I mean, we talked about Elkanah and Hannah. Who was their son?
Samuel.
Samuel. And yet his sons,
Not so much.
oh, not so much. So what's the moral of this story? Just because your parents know the word doesn't mean you're going to make it if you don't know the word. And if you don't apply it, it's your choice. There's another moral to this story. It usually takes two parents. Okay? Now, Esther only had one parent in the home. Still follows. Because there's no conflict. There's not two ways. I was raising my children one way. Their father was raising them another. There's conflict. There's a division. But when two parents are united, Abraham and Sarah, Elkanah and Hannah. You notice I didn't name Samson's parents. See, the angel came to the mama, but the father wanted to hear it. Well, I want to talk to him. Go tell him I want to talk to him. And who did the angel appear to again? The mama. Samson said, I want this. And the father did. So he really wasn't didn't really lead. There's a lesson there for you young men. You need to be the leaders of your home.
We'll be united with the wives.
Yes, but you need to be united. You need to be, you should be one. Okay?
That goes in another direction too. One of the devil's main weapon is division of the home.
Yes.
And that's relevant to the divorce rate in not just in the U.S. but in the world.
Yep.
You mess up with the head of the household, you just took out almost the whole family.
Yep. So we don't have a ton of examples. Wow, what an uplifting message for you children. But can you think of children in spite of their parents? How about a young 7-year-old king? Josiah? Josiah. He was only 7. His father wasn't so hot.
But David,
Yeah.
How about David?
his dad didn't see him as anything.
Yeah, he called in all the
He
sons
was
but
the
David.
least.
Well, don't you have any more? Well, the youngest, but he's doing this. He didn't think much of him, did he? And yet he had great faith, great trust, right? He was a good leader because he knew that his strength came from God, not of himself. Whereas his brothers were great warriors, but yet they wouldn't stand up to Goliath. How about the little boy with fishes and loaves of bread? That's pretty cool too. Okay? So, train up a child in the way they should go. A lot of us did that. And some of our children, as adults, aren't walking. Nonetheless. Break up the fallow ground, God. Right? The seed was pure. The water was pure. That's the Holy Spirit. The sunlight, Yeshua, is pure. It's the ground. When the seed was planted, the ground was good. So now the ground needs to be, it needs to be broken up. It needs to be amended. The rocks that fell on need to be crushed. The weeds need to be pulled. So that's what I ask him for is go for the soil, Abba. And Psalm 23, if you look at Psalm 23, I've told you this many times, hunt them down relentlessly. And send your Malakim too. Boy, they're fearsome, aren't they? Aren't those Malakim? Right, what are Malakim? We call them angels, right?
Yep.
Man, they're scary looking, some of them.
7 feet, 8 feet tall.
Well, we're bigger. Okay? They come. So if you were to ever see an angel, how do you think they'd appear to you? Do you think they'd appear to you fierce? Maybe if you're like
If you
Balaam.
need them to be fierce, they'll be fierce.
Oh.
If you don't need them to be fierce, they won't be fierce looking to you.
How did they appear to Abraham?
Like 2 men.
Like travelers, right? Abraham was a nomad. He was a traveler. He left the country. He was in it living in tents. He was a nomad. How did they appear? As travelers. One night, coming down from the mountains when my engine was overheating and I pulled into the parking lot and my engine was smoking and I was getting out of the car telling my kids to get out of the car. Here come 3 cowboys. Full coats, chaps, boots, cowboys. Okay? 3 big cowboys. And they were coming through the fog, the smoke coming out of the side of the building at night. It was dark. Okay, and it was a restaurant, and so the restaurant, the steam that comes out from the pipe down at the bottom, and here they come. I kid you not. I don't know where I was at that moment. Obviously, cowboys were something big, okay? So they appeared as 3 cowboys. Cowboys were safe. Yeah, really, the cowboys were safe. And they came up out of nowhere through that thing, and they traveled across that parking lot faster than I could blink an eye. And I wasn't scared for not 1 second. And they were big dudes. And they said, it's okay, leave the children in the car. Everything's okay. So I turned around and told my kids, it's okay. You're fine, guys, stay in the car. They spoke with authority. I can't explain it to you. I turned around and they weren't there. Tell me they weren't angels. I dare you. How many travelers came to Abraham?
Was it 3? Oh, I was thinking 2.
It was 3. Look at it. Look at it. 2 went on ahead, right? And one stayed. One was the angel of the Lord. Oh, I wonder who that was.
How many police officers were there that day you guys were at the Capitol?
2.
2.
But we knew.
They were.
See, 3. Here's 3 witnesses, though. We were all 3 there.
Yeah.
They were big guys.
There may have been another one wandering around somewhere.
Yeah, it might have been.
Probably.
They don't always have to show up in 3. So don't go, oh, it wasn't 3, it wasn't an angel. No. That's not what I'm saying. But if in doubt, and what was speaking to me at that moment, okay? What speaks and obviously this man knowing everything, there was a peace. So I'm telling you, children, did I tell you about expectations? Okay. You can expect great things from your God, and he will exceed them all. He will never disappoint you. Don't expect anything from human beings. You will be disappointed. Okay? All right? So I pulled that one from like 3 weeks ago. I told you about expectations. All right? Expect great things from God. But I expect you and you and you and you to be a whole lot better than all of us. Learn from our mistakes. Don't put us down. Don't disrespect us because of our mistakes. You're still supposed to honor, right? You can learn. I learned a lot from my mother. A lot of what not to do. A lot of how not to treat people. A lot of what isn't correct. I learned a lot. Okay? So it's on you how you become, not on your parents. All right? Can't get to heaven and say, but, okay? All right. You all have one of these? You've all got one of these. All right? Okay, now, the other moral of this story is, if you look at a lot of the kings, sometimes you see where the king was bad, but the son was good. But what you see is, and his mother was. See, the kings of Israel and Judah weren't always involved in raising their children because they were ruling a country and they had multiple wives, which that's not a good thing. So the moral of this story is for you to choose wisely. I know you're young, but choose wisely. Right, only have one, and choose wisely. So you might be young, but we need to be training the young girls on what to look for in character, okay? Because your feelings have nothing to do with it. If you go by your feelings, you're going to make a mistake. I'm telling you right now, you're going to make a mistake. But if you go by character and choose wisely, both, all of you, right? All of you, okay.
Friends
And
first.
you'll know.
Well, I agree with that and I don't agree with that. I agree with it in that, yeah, trust God to guide you, okay? But there are still those times we make choices because he's given us those free will and he's told us, I've told you what to do. And so part of that is recognizing good character. So if you're not looking for good character and you're looking for something else, that's on you.
Well, yeah, depend. Choose the qualities you want.
Choose wisely.
Yeah, those choices are yours.
That's right. Choose wisely.
You choose somebody that believes the same things you believe.
Oh yeah, if you're unequally yoked.
You don't choose on the fact you're saying, oh, she's hot. Well, so's hell, but you don't want to know. Okay? You know what I mean?
Make that into a bumper sticker.
She's hot.
She's hot, so's hell. I'm telling you, that's great. Okay. Do you remember what you went outside to go look at? They have no clue. So for the lazy people in the house, what do you see? What you saw?
I win.
Is that what you saw? That's what you saw, right? But it's a good tree. The trunk's good. The roots are good. The roots are your grandparents and the trunks are your parents.
And that's not a healthy tree, isn't it?
That's a healthy tree.
Because the rest of the tree's fine.
Rest of the tree's fine. What do you think they need to do? Cut it off. If you choose coming out of a godly home to do it your own way and not do the works of God to be fruitful, we're going to have to cut you off. Kind of like rocking you. We're going to come up with all kinds of sayings. So, but God can graft you back in. There's always hope. Okay? All right.
As long as you're alive.
As long as you're alive, there's hope.